Once in a while. Joy throws little stones at my window. It wants to let me know that it's wanting from me. But today I'm calm. I'd almost say even-tempered. I'm going to keep anxiety locked up. And then they flat on my back. Which is an elegant and comfortable position. For receiving and believing news. Who knows where I'll be next? Or when my story will be taken into account. Who knows what advice I still might come up with. Or no easy way I'll take not to follow it. Don't worry, I won't gamble with an eviction. I won't tattoo remembering forgetting. There are many things left to stay unsuppressed. And many grapes left to fill our mouths. Don't worry, I'm convinced. Joy doesn't need to throw any more little stones. I'm coming. Nervous, sweaty,
head pounding, irritability.
I'd start panicking.
It's like flight or flight. It's like I always want to like run.
Scared, heart racing.
If I'm in a place which is overcrowded, I feel overwhelmed and uncomfortable.
Just can't breathe.
Sounds are louder than they should be. Scents are intoxicating, you can barely breathe.
I get really scared. I get scared of what people think of me.
I just want to be alone in a corner. I don't want to be near anyone.
We feel a lot of things that in our brains logically we know we shouldn't be thinking. Like, people don't think about us as much as we think they do.
I suppose everybody has like different opinions as well on social anxiety.
Definitely, I think that there's still a big stigma when we talk about mental health, and I think the way that society views it is still not as something that is taken seriously.
I definitely do think there's stigma, especially around people my age, but I do think it's getting better, like much better.
I think there is to some extent, but I don't think it's half as bad as it used to be.
There is big time. I suffer from depression myself, anxiety, stress. I can't help it.
It was always that way in Ireland. You couldn't tell anyone that you're suffering from depression, they'd laugh at them.
There's a lot more awareness of it, and there's a lot more awareness how widespread it is. And given the times we're living in now, and people have been stuck at home for so long.
I would say there's less of a stigma today in 2021 from when I was a kid growing up. There's more assistance for young people here, but the problem's not going away for some reason. The problem's not going away.
My experience with anxiety basically stems back to when I was starting off in secondary school. I struggled being in huge crowds and being around just classmates, and I felt like I had to hide away from people because I didn't feel like I fit into their kind of social circles.
I had a lot of experiences, but school was one. A lot of people talking, a lot of people looking, a lot of people making up things, a lot of people judging. It's a lot, it just became a lot for me, especially with OCD and other disorders that create anxiety as well.
I struggle with anxiety. When I was younger, I went through a tough time in school, and just meeting new people just makes me anxious in case it all starts up again.
When I was back in school, I always had a little trouble keeping up with other people. So people weren't mean, but the way they looked at things, I always keep my ears peeled or my eyes peeled for things.
I struggled with depression when I done my Leaving Cert. I struggled for maybe 2 or 3 years between the start of it and recovery, and my depression really amplified my anxiety.
Some days I just be in bed. I could be in a bed about a week, and then the next week I'm outside, you know. It's hard, like, you know, it's just, it makes me sick sometimes as well. My heart could go all weird and keep pounding and stuff, so yeah, a lot of different ways.
Throughout my life, I have suffered anxiety, and it hasn't always been easy for me.
The first time I knew I had anxiety was when my dad dropped me to a birthday party at the age of 9, and I stayed in my friend's bedroom the whole time. I didn't go out to the party.
Facing anxiety, you know, when someone is autistic is never easy.
And it made me feel like I was small and that I wasn't worth anything. I used to walk through town in 21-degree weather in the middle of summer with a hood pulled up over my head because I thought that people were staring at me, even though, and people would stare at me, but they were only staring at me because I was walking down the road like a weirdo with my hood up. And I really struggled with that.
I just get all panicky and get nervous, and I just don't know how to handle it most of the time. Sometimes I get anxiety attacks.
I get this feeling in my mind telling me, you know, get out of that place. You don't want to be here because you feel more anxious if you do.
Because I know it's purely in my head. People don't think about me or the things I do as much as I think we do. We have a lot of trouble remembering other people's problems more than ours. We remember our blunders more.
I always struggled with it, and I've gotten on a lot more, like, better in the last few years because I'm around people all the time and I'm having to do things for myself, and I've basically been forced to buck up and get out of the anxiety and live a better life for myself, and I feel a lot better now than I did in the last few years, really.
I think it's the society we live in now, and because of all social media and a lot of people are under pressure, there's a lot of bullying going on. It's hard to deal with, like.
When we think about social media and the expectations, especially when we compare ourselves to what social media life is really like.
Social media, I hate it. I hate it so much, but you can't really have a social life without it.
It's not really our fault. Those apps are designed to do that. They're designed to show us the best life that people are living, and then we constantly compare ourselves to this.
People my age use it so much, and if you don't have it, you're not invited to things, or you're not added to group chats for parties. If you don't have social media, Instagram, you're kind of like, who are you, you know?
I think it's spoken a lot more about on social media. It also gives a platform for discussing it and to meet other like-minded people who might be going through the same thing.
I cope with my anxiety by surrounding with people that I feel comfortable going around with, like family, friends. By watching stuff, listening to music, going watching football games, stuff like that.
Personally, for me, listening to music always helps me deal with, helps me to relax and to de-stress whenever I'm feeling anxious.
I'd put in headphones and go for a walk, listen to my music, or I'd go to my room and just put on a show, distract myself, do anything to distract yourself, really.
There's no sense of community when we talk about mental health. We talk about government policies, we talk about all these things, but the community isn't involved.
In my time when I was your age, it was like a sin to have depression. People said there's something up with them. They just didn't want to hear or help, in other words.
You know, the whole thing about social anxiety is that you feel isolated, that nobody identifies with you. And I think it's one thing for the government to say, well, we should do this, but it's another thing for the community to get together and create safe spaces for people.
Things like this, asking questions, getting the dialogue going and getting people talking really, really does help.
I do have a very clear, I think a very solid plan for the future, which is something that I never had when I struggled with my mental health. I want to finish the course I'm in, which is something I never thought that I would ever say.
I want to make my family happier. I want to prove who I am to myself and no one else. And I want to get a proper nice job so I can have my own life in the future for myself and have like a family and like have a house and stuff. That's what I always dream of, like, you know. And I just want to be happy, which is the most important thing.
I wish to be able to do things with less fear or with more courage to handle that fear and have a normal life and improve myself.
My hope for the future is to get a job and develop my communication skills and have better confidence.
To be able to do things on my own without being scared all the time.
My hope for the future is that I can hopefully get the career I want. So I want to make a positive difference in people's lives. That's my number one goal in life, is that if I can get into a career where I can make a positive difference in people's lives, then I can go to bed happy at night.
Be brave.
Eat healthy.
Read.
Reach out.
Support.
Keeping a positive mindset.
Be kind to yourself.
Talk.
I think the discussion is there, but I think it just needs to be more accepted.
Alright, I'm feeling so anxious in my blanket. I gotta thank this people for being real because I'm so anxious, unlike the man of steel, because I always feel of sadness and scared because I better get repaired and get repair and so handy like Handy Mandy because I'm so sweet like the candy. And then I'm so anxious and scared of all this fear because I shred a tear. All the bullies be calling me a queer. I'm looking so fat like a spear, like a Circle K. Every single day I got my way, even though it's full of sadness. I'm full of madness, full of crappiness, unlike the happiness.